Several members of a Hemet-based religious group have been arrested, accused in his murder.
The cult-like group known as His Way Spirit Led Assemblies has been at the center of an investigation.
America, we got one of the most disturbing cult stories in recent history. The leaders of a secretive California religious group called His Way Spirit Led Assemblies have been arrested on murder charges after 2 members disappeared without a trace and a 4-year-old boy died in their custody. But here's what makes this even more sinister. This group has been operating for decades, running a multi-million-dollar pest control business, stockpiling illegal weapons, and controlling every aspect of their members' lives.
After serving several search warrants at properties connected to this cult-like group over the past few months, 2 high-ranking members were arrested today on murder and gun charges.
What is up, guys? Tyson De La Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. This is the kind of story that makes your blood run cold. We're talking about a cult that has been hiding in plain sight in Southern California, controlling people's lives, making millions of dollars off of it. And now we're finding out the people who tried to leave ended up dead or missing. Let me break down who got arrested and why this case is so massive. On December 11th, authorities arrested 6, not 1, but 6 members of His Way Spirit Led Assemblies at their Hemet headquarters, including the group's leaders, 58-year-old Daryl Muzic Martin, who presumably calls himself Pastor Muzic, and his 62-year-old wife, Shelly Bailey Catherine Martin, who refers to herself as prophetess or prophetess or prophetessa, whatever it is, and claims to be God on earth. These people are crazy. 2 former members of this group have vanished. Emilio, 40 years old, disappeared in May 2023 after meeting somebody from this group at a Starbucks in Redland. And Ruben, 49 years old, was reported missing in 2019 after last being seen at the Claremont residence associated with this particular cult. But it gets worse. In 2010, a 4-year-old boy named Timothy Thomas died while in the custody of Daryl and Catherine Martin. The boy died from septic shock due to a ruptured appendix, but authorities suspect negligence played a major role because the Martins refused to get him medical treatment.
Both of them are in custody on murder charges. Daryl Muzic Martin is in custody on murder, and the other one is on second-degree murder, Rudy Moreno. Now, at this point, neither the Redlands Police Department nor the Claremont Police Department, which are handling both of the missing persons case, are making any public comment on the arrests.
All 3 are being held without bond, along with 3 other members arrested for, get this, weapons charges. Now let's talk about how this cult actually operated, because this is where it gets really disturbing. A former member who spoke to KTLA and was too afraid to reveal his identity described how the Martins controlled every aspect of the members' lives.
When the Spirit of God comes over her, everything changes in her, like her voice changes.
Members are taught that when she speaks, God is speaking through her.
Prophetess or pastor said, "You're doing this, you did it. There wasn't an option."
This is classic cult behavior. Absolute obedience to the cult leaders and no questions asked. And here's something that should raise even the lowest red flag. The cult took children away from their parents and made them live in the Martins' big house. A former member said at a young age they would be living there with the main pastors and following whatever rules they have for them. He said it was always young kids.
They constantly prepare for the end of the world.
So they had their supplies, so if they ever had to be on the run or not eat, or, the mark of the beast comes.
They isolated members from the outside world, and they punished anybody who disobeyed, especially children. Now here's where the cult story takes an interesting turn. This wasn't some small religious group meeting in somebody's basement. They were running a multi-million-dollar pest control company that was started by one of their victims, Emilio.
Once called Full Shield, now called MaxGuard.
He grew that company very last he told me it was almost a $2 million a year company.
But here's the kicker. All the money went to the pastors, not to the members who were actually doing the work. The former member said Emilio was very happy that he started the company because it was helping the ministry and bringing in good money, even though Emilio would do anywhere from $20,000 to $35,000 a month in route completions and sales. Think about that. Emilio built a multi-million-dollar business and the cult leaders gave him $100 a week while they kept everything else. This This is financial exploitation on a massive scale. And when Emilio finally left the cult in April 2023 and moved back to Nashville to start his own pest control company, the cult obviously wasn't happy. They sent him a cease and desist letter on May 8th, 2023, accusing him of competing with their business. Less than 3 weeks later, Emilio disappeared, and he was last seen on May 25th, 2023, after having coffee with a former member at a Starbucks in Redlands. He told his friend he was going to meet up with the high-ranking member of the cult, Rudy Moreno, who supposedly wanted help leaving the organization. But the former member didn't believe it. He said, when Emilio was telling me that he was going to go help him escape and get out of there, I never felt that it was actually true. I felt it was going to end up badly, and I think that's what happened. Let's walk through exactly what happened to Emilio, presumably, because this timeline is crucial to understanding how this cult operates. In April 2023, Emilio left both the religious group and MaxGuard behind to move to Nashville to reunite with his family and start a new chapter in his life. His sister said Emilio started his own pest control company in Nashville and went back to Southern California to open up a satellite office with intent of recapturing some of his own clients. This move drew the attention of MaxGuard, which served him the cease and desist letter. On May 25th, 2023, while staying at an Airbnb in Moreno Valley, Emilio met with a former member at a coffee shop at a Starbucks in Redlands. After that meeting, he planned to meet with Rudy Moreno, believing that Rudy wanted help leaving the organization.
Emilio asked me about him on a couple of different occasions what I thought, and I said I didn't trust him.
Surveillance cameras captured Emilio renting a Nissan Frontier pickup truck later that day. That was the last time that he was seen alive. For years, his disappearance was considered a missing persons case, but on August 1st, 2025, this case turned into a possible homicide after Redlands police found Emilio's truck with evidence inside that they wouldn't reveal. The investigation then focused on his Spirit Led Way Assemblies, that church cult that we've been talking about, its leaders, and now Rudy Moreno. The man Emilio went to meet that particular day has been arrested for his murder. Now let's talk about the death of the 4-year-old Timothy Thomas, because this case shows what the Martins have been getting away with for over a decade. On January 16th, 2010, Timothy died within an hour of a 911 call while in the custody of Daryl and Catherine Martin. The case of death would rule to be septic shock due to a ruptured appendix. But here's what makes this so disturbing. Detectives suspect neglect played a role because the Martins refused to get Timothy medical attention. According to the coroner investigation report, Timothy's parents had given the Martins temporary custody of their 3-year-old child because the mother had problems and couldn't provide a stable home. But one of Timothy's aunts told police that the Martins would not allow the boy's mother to see him or the other children. The second aunt felt that Daryl Martin was responsible for Timothy's death and reported this to the Colton Police and Child Protective Services in an effort to get the boy's 2 remaining siblings removed from that particular house. The aunt said that Martin had instructed Timothy not to vomit and showed him how to place his hands over his mouth so the vomit wouldn't come out. Let that sink in. A cult leader told a dying 4-year-old boy not to vomit and showed him how to hold it in. That is not religious guidance, my friends. That is child abuse that led to death. Police recommended charges against the Martins in 2010, but San Bernardino County District Attorney declined to prosecute. At the time, the group members were uncooperative with the investigation and gave conflicting testimony, making it challenging to prosecute the case. But now several members have parted way with the group and recently revised their statements to Colton Police, saying their original testimony was under duress from the group leaders. Colton Police are now planning to resubmit the death investigation to prosecutors based on the new evidence. In August 2025, with help from the FBI, Redlands Police swarmed the current base of his Spirit Led Assembly in Hemet as part of the investigation into Emilio's disappearance. And what they found? Absolutely shocking. During the searches in Hemet and at a remote compound, detectives recovered several illegal firearms, including converted fully automatics, short-barreled rifles, and unserialized ghost guns. They also found electronic devices and other digital evidence. Think about what this means. This cult wasn't just prepping for the end of the world spiritually, they were preparing for it militarily. They had machine guns, illegal rifles, and ghost guns that can't be traced. What were they planning to do with all these weapons? One of their neighbors who didn't want to be identified said the group members were constantly preparing for catastrophic disaster.
Sheriffs, they were preppers. They wear like hiking pants, hiking shirts, hats, boots, pallets of expired food.
This, my friends, is a doomsday cult that was armed to the teeth, controlling people's lives, making millions of dollars. And now we're finding out the people who tried to leave ended up being dead or missing. Now, let me ask you guys something. Don't these folks look suspicious? You've got Daryl Martin calling himself Pastor Muzic. Look at these peeps. They're making music videos, running multi-million-dollar businesses, stockpiling weapons, and controlling every aspect of their followers' lives. These are gangsters turned gospel. These people figured out that you can make money and have more power running a cult than running a criminal enterprise. You got tax exempt status, you get complete control over your followers, and you hide behind religious freedoms when anybody questions what you're doing. The fact that this group operated for decades without serious scrutiny shows how easy it is for cults to hide in plain sight. They had legitimate businesses, they own multiple properties, they look like a normal religious organization from the outside. But behind closed doors, they were taking children away from parents, financially exploiting their members, stockpiling illegal weapons, and allegedly murdering people who tried to leave.
We've been covering this for months. As we mentioned, this is Emilio Ghanem on the right there and Ruben Moreno on the left. Now, what we know tonight is that Ruben Moreno's brother, Rudy Moreno, is in the custody of the Riverside County Jail, as well as Daryl Muzic Martin. Daryl Muzic Martin was part of this group, the His Way Spirit Led Assemblies. Now,
Claremont police are investigating Ruben Moreno's disappearance. Colton police are reopening the Timothy Thomas case, and Redlands police are continuing to investigate Emilio's murder. All three investigations are focused on the same cult and its leaders.
Both of the men that were arrested today are being held without bail. Now, this group is also being looked at for the disappearance of another member of the group, as well as the death of a 4-year-old boy.
6 members arrested on December 11th and expected to make their first court appearance on December 15th. Daryl Martin, Catherine Martin, and Ruben Moreno remain in custody without bail on murder charges. 3 other members were arrested on weapons charges. America, this is what happens when a cult operates in the shadows for decades. 2 men are missing and presumed dead. A 4-year-old died from neglect. Members were financially exploited and controlled. Children were taken from their parents. Illegal weapons were stockpiled, and leaders claimed to speak to God while allegedly committing murder. Daryl and Catherine Martin built their empire on exploitation, control, and fear. They took a young man's pest control business and turned it into a multi-million-dollar business operation while only paying him $100 a week. When he finally escaped and tried to start over, they allegedly had him killed. Ruben disappeared in 2019. Emilio vanished in 2023. Timothy died in 2010. How many more victims are there that we don't know about? How many more people are still trapped in this cult, too afraid to leave because they've seen what happens when you try? The arrests of the Martins and their top lieutenant are just the beginning. This investigation is going to expose decades of abuse, exploitation, and alleged murder. And every member of this cult who participated in covering up these crimes needs to be held accountable. Gangsters turn gospel, prophets turn predators. Justice is finally coming. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.